Four-time Indy 500 winner suffers serious injuries.
He'll get a pretty good recovery at about a year. We should be having him back in the car maybe in 6 months.
The latest on the condition of A.J. Foyt and more next on Speedweek.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge. For performance, quality, safety, and value, welcome home, America.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins. 4 major races were stopped for one reason or another in one of the most devastating weekends of the racing year. We'll have a complete report coming up. We begin with the story of the winningest driver in IndyCar history, A.J. Foyt, who remains in an Indianapolis hospital following a crash at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The brakes apparently failed on Foyt's car at the end of the front stretch, where the speeds reached 195 miles an hour. The car went straight off the track, through an area of gravel, into and then over an earthen embankment. Foyt remained conscious, but his legs were trapped in the wreckage. CART officials stopped the race for a little over an hour to devote full time to the extrication effort. After rescue workers pulled Foyt out of the car, he was immediately airlifted to Milwaukee County Medical Complex. Originally listed in critical condition, he was upgraded to serious after 3.5 hours of emergency surgery Sunday night. Monday, he was transferred to Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, where he underwent more surgery. Gary Lee is standing by at Methodist Hospital. Gary, what's the latest?
Bob, A.J.'s condition has been upgraded to fair despite one additional surgery since being transferred here to Methodist Hospital. He is said to be resting comfortably, but is not quite up to talking with us. However, we do have with us Dr. Terry Trammelll, CART's Director of Medical Services and A.J.'s orthopedic surgeon. Dr. Trammelll, what are the extent of A.J.'s injuries?
His major injury was to his left knee and upper leg area. That was fractured and dislocated, was treated surgically in Milwaukee. He also has injuries to his right knee, an injury to his right foot where a bone dislocated in his foot. He had compartment syndromes in both feet that required surgical release up in Milwaukee. He still has a fractured left heel that we need to treat and plan to Friday by applying an external fixator device to his leg that'll allow us to reduce that without actually performing any open surgery on the heel. That's where we stand right now.
Can you compare these injuries to other IndyCar drivers that have been injured? Rick Mears, Jim Crawford, Scott Pruitt.
He has injuries similar to what Rick had in his feet with regards to the compartment syndromes. His leg injuries are similar to what Jim Crawford had. Heel injuries similar to what Herm Johnson had. The typical I ran into the wall at high speed kind of injury head on.
And what is the prognosis?
I think he'll get a pretty good recovery at about a year. We should be having him back in a car maybe in 6 months.
Dr. Trammelll, thank you for joining us. Dr. Terry Trammelll, A.J.'s orthopedic surgeon, who was on the scene of the crash at Elkhart Lake, also assisted in the surgery up at Milwaukee before A.J. was transferred here to Methodist. That's the latest update. Doesn't sound all that bad right now.
Gary, have you heard if the team will continue to run this year, and who might drive the car?
Well, Bob, the team will not race at Nazareth, the next outing on the CART schedule. However, they do plan to contest the season finale at Laguna Seca outside Monterey. They have not named a driver. We should have that information next week.
All right, Gary, thanks for the report. Whenever an incident like this occurs, you have to ask the question, why did it happen? And should there be steps taken to improve safety at permanent road courses?
I feel very strongly that more could have been done at the end of that corner, no question. Tire wall should have been before that embankment, and unfortunately we don't get to inspect all these personally as the drivers, but I think there are other responsibilities that should be taken to see that if you have a catastrophic failure like that, you don't pay so dearly unnecessarily, because there's more than can be done, and in this situation, for sure, a tire wall there would have prevented injuries on AJ. I'm certain of that.
And now for more on the race at Elkhart Lake. You heard Danny Sullivan say last week here on Speedweek that despite the fact he's leaving the Penske team at the end of the year, he was going to try very hard to win the remaining races. Sullivan did win the pole, his 3rd of the year, and led his Penske teammates Emerson Fittipaldi and Rick Mears in the early laps on this high-speed circuit. Now, last year, Michael Andretti ran out of fuel on the last lap, and many were conscious of that, backing off and playing it conservative. But there was still close racing, a little too close here for John Andretti, sliding into the gravel at Canada Corner after touching wheels with Canadian Scott Goodyear. This is what the gravel is supposed to do. When Foyt crashed, the cars ran under yellow for several laps before the red, eliminating any fuel problem. When the race resumed, it was a 14-lap sprint to the finish. Sullivan had the field covered until drivetrain problems forced him out just a few laps later. That gave the lead to Michael, who held off Fittipaldi in the closing laps to take the victory. And it kept alive his hopes of winning the championship, although Al Unser Jr., who finished 4th, has a 37-point edge with 2 races remaining. All little Al has to do is finish 6th or better at Nazareth next Sunday to secure the title. The on-again, off-again Detroit IndyCar Grand Prix is on again. The official announcement was made earlier today in Detroit. The event will be held June 16th, 1991.
Speedweek is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one top motor oil. By Dodge for performance, quality, safety, and value. Welcome home, America. And by Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices.
Coming up, the Goodies 500 leaves Rick Hendrick with a splitting headache.
Ron Sperry came home for the handling of a Dodge Daytona ES. For Tom Metz, it was a 224 horsepower Spirit RT. Performance is bringing America home to Dodge.
I just love this car. There's no other car like it.
And now, with the new 300 horsepower all-wheel drive Stealth RT twin turbo.
Here's a fast, good-looking car.
The choice is easy. Welcome home, America. Come see what we're made of.
If you like soft rock music like we do, you'll love Sessions' new album called Secret Love.
It has 48 soft rock classics by the original artist.
Just listen.
So I'm saving all my love for you, baby. Come to me. If ever you're in my arms again, love lifts up where we belong. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm gonna hold you in my arms forever.
These songs really bring out the animal in some people. You also get great hits by Billy Ocean, James Taylor, the Commodores, and the Moody Blues.
Nights in white satin. I've been waiting for a girl like you. Cherish the love we had. Precious and few are the moments.
Secret Love can only be ordered through this special TV offer.
Your choice of 4 records or 3 cassette tapes for only $19.95.
Here's how to order.
Call toll-free 1-800-554-9000 or save COD fees by sending $19.95 for records or cassettes or $29.95 for CDs, plus $4 shipping and handling to Secret Love, P.O. Box 20, Department E, Los Angeles, California.
Well, AJ, get ready. We're waiting you to come back again, and I'm very happy that everything went fine with you, and we're waiting you down here on the track, and I know you're going to come back.
What was the closest Winston Cup points battle since 1981 is now the closest in NASCAR history with 5 races to go. The Goodies 500 at Martinsville last Sunday was an uphill struggle for both Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt, who were separated by 21 points going into the event. Martin won his 3rd pole of the year for this race and hoped he would turn things around at the track where he had never finished on the lead lap. But when the green came out, he knew the car's brakes weren't right. So outside front row starter Rusty Wallace denied Mark an early 5 bonus points for leading a lap. Earnhardt had an even bigger problem. A cut right front tire forced him to the pits under green and put him a lap down. Shortly thereafter, Martin headed for pit road under caution as the crew went to work reconnecting a spark plug wire that had come off. As the field came down to take the green, Earnhardt had the inside line and appeared to get his lap back. But NASCAR ruled he jumped the start. The stop-and-go penalty further complicated Dale's long afternoon. NASCAR hasn't used the penalty box much this year, but they did twice during this race. Jimmy Spencer was set down for 5 laps after this incident with Ernie Irvan. There were the normal Martinsville spins and crashes, but nothing to compare to this. While battling for the lead, teammates Kenny Schrader and Ricky Rudd got together. Neither was injured, but 2 Rick Hendrick Luminas were badly damaged. For a while, it seemed like if you were the leader, you were doomed. After Rudd and Schrader crashed, then leader Jeff Bodine was involved in this incident with Terry Labonte. Both continued. That gave the lead to Bill Elliott. He found himself spinning in the fourth turn after contact with Sterling Marlin. Sterling was the second to visit the penalty box, while car owner Billy Hagan showed his displeasure with NASCAR's 5-lap penalty. Late in the race, with Jeff Bodine back in front, Earnhardt, who had made up his lap earlier, squeezed by Martin for second as Dick Trickle spun in turn 4. And that's the way they finished. Jeff won his third race of the year and second in a row at Martinsville. It was car owner Junior Johnson's 12th win at the half-mile facility. Martin's third-place finish and Earnhardt's second means Mark lost 5 points and now has a 16-point advantage heading into North Wilkesboro this weekend. All season long, we've seen teammates race wheel to wheel. Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal in Indy cars, and Jeff Brabham and Chip Robinson in IMSA come to mind. But Sunday's race was the first time we've seen teammates crash out of an event.
It's just a shame we still had a couple hundred laps to go, and you know, Kenny, I don't know, he got under me and he broke loose and knocked me in the fence, but you know, I don't know why he's racing that hard. Still had 200 laps to go. I don't really have an answer for it. Took our shot away of winning this race.
Ricky and I got together, you know, we sure didn't want to get together, especially both having to call the same boss tonight, but I don't know. I thought he got up in the stuff a little bit and got a little loose and bounced off into us, and he thinks that I got him up there. I mean, we just got together. He said he was going to let me go on another lap or so because he was slowing down, you know, and the guys were starting to catch me, so I just ran him like he was another car, you know.
How did the boss, Rick Hendrick, react? Well, he was quoted as saying, "It's just something you have to worry about when you have 2 or more teams. You have to let drivers race. There's nothing you can do to prevent it." Well, Hendrick's problems continued this week at Charlotte. During an open testing session for the race coming up there a week from Sunday, his driver Greg Sachs crashed not once but twice. He wasn't injured in either incident, and although they didn't appear to be heavily damaged, the cars were done for the day. As we told you earlier, North Wilkesboro is the next Winston Cup race, and this year's Trans Am champion Tom Kendall is scheduled to make his stock car oval track debut. He won his 6th Trans Am race of the year last weekend at Road America. It was one of his hardest-fought victories of the season as he and Scott Sharp battled wheel to wheel and sometimes bumper to bumper on the high-speed 4-mile course. The battle ended when it began to rain and Sharp and Darren Brassfield spun off course. The rain continued, so the race was red flagged after 20 laps. Kendall gave Chevy its first manufacturer's championship in Trans Am since 1983. Last week, he visited the Charlotte Motor Speedway and talked about his goals for this weekend.
I think the first goal, especially at North Wilkesboro, you know, they're only a 30-car field there. Number one is to make the race, and second is just to finish, you know, and just get as much time as we can and experience, and that comes from just running every lap, I guess.
This will be Kendall's 6th Winston Cup race, but so far all have been on road courses. Another driver successful in one series, Indy cars, is switching to another, Winston Cup. 1985 Indy 500 pole sitter Pancho Carter is planning a full season next year with a new Ford team owned by an Indianapolis area businessman. Coming up, Price and Davy go to school. And later, exciting short track open wheel action.
Buckle up. This is the best.
Listen up, ladies. I've got a secret for you. It's about men, all of them. Want to listen in on their private conversations? Want to find out what they're thinking about love, money, family, and sex? And how they feel about you? Well, Lifetime's got a way to take you inside the male mind with a whole series devoted to your favorite subject and mine, men. But don't tell them about it. Esquire, about men for women.
If you're going to make it, you've got to have attitudes.
Express a feeling.
Make a statement. Have an opinion and stick with it.
Get exactly what you want, when you want it.
Bet on a hunch.
Know when to spoil yourself.
And when you've had enough. If at first you don't succeed, keep at it anyway.
Lifetime's got the only attitudes that matter.
Yours.
Attitude, serious fun.
Pompey and Darrell Lattimore slug it out in a battle for a World Welterweight Championship. Budweiser presents Top Rank Boxing, live Thursday night at 9 Eastern, only on ESPN.
The Formula One circus is in Spain for a race Sunday. Last weekend, they were in Estoril, Portugal, where Ayrton Senna was hoping to move a step closer to his second world championship. When the race was over, Alain Prost on the left was third, Nigel Mansell in the center was the winner, and Senna on the right was second. Each of these three has special memories about Portugal. It was here in 1987 that Alain Prost surpassed Jackie Stewart's mark and became the all-time winningest Formula One driver with 28 victories. Stewart was the anchor announcer for ESPN that day.
There is no animosity in Jackie Stewart as he comes round the final corner of this Grand Prix of Portugal to take the checkered flag in a well-earned victory for Team McLaren. So the Marlboro McLaren with the tag engine wins the Grand Prix of Portugal, and with it, Alain Prost becomes the winningest driver in the history of Grand Prix racing.
In 1988, a memorable moment for both Senna and Prost. Ayrton was a little reluctant to allow his teammate to pass. This incident may have started their feud that lasted until just 2 weeks ago. Last year, after ignoring a black flag for backing up in his pit, Nigel and Ayrton had this coming together, which knocked both of them out of the race. Nigel was given a one-race suspension, and Senna's chances of winning the championship didn't look as bright. This year, at almost exactly the same place on the track, pole sitter Mansell successfully passed Senna and went on to win. Nigel had a close call, though, when he encountered the slow Ligier of Philippe Alliot. Although Philippe hit the guardrail pretty hard, he wasn't injured. The race did end 10 laps short of its scheduled distance when Alex Caffey crashed his arrows and was trapped in the wreckage. Despite the fact that it looked pretty bad, Caffey's only injury was a sprained ankle. Mansell took his first win here since 1986 and may have changed his mind about retirement.
The weather and the fans were fantastic today, and it was a great race, and all I can say is that we have to wait and see.
Second was just fine with Senna. Racing Mansell may have resulted in reliving last year's nightmare.
It was just too much of a risk to take and score no points here. And the championship was more important to me. I was racing against Alain in the championship. Second place for me is just the result I need. And so there was no problem.
Although Prost conceded the championship after the race, Senna doesn't have it wrapped up yet. He does have an 18-point advantage with 3 races to go. Mansell's win was his 16th, tying him with Sterling Moss for most F1 victories by a Brit. The other major international series governed by the FIA is the World Sports Prototype Championship. The series, which has been in Europe and Japan all year, concludes with 2 North American races. The first was last weekend in Montreal. Here's Larry Nuber.
These are the cars that used to reach 250 miles per hour on the Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans. But next year, they will be required to run 3.5-liter normally aspirated engines, which will accomplish 2 things. First of all, it will slow them down.
Well, we've been actually working on that since a while. You know, I actually proposed, or we proposed as drivers, that we should have open sports cars again. It's more interesting for the spectators to see. You see the guy in the car, you see the helmet on it much better than the closed ones, and that would automatically also reduce the speed. People would argue to say it's less safe, but Formula 1s are open, that's okay too, and we could live with that. I think that would be a good way to do it.
But on the other hand, it could also significantly reduce the number of cars in the series.
It's actually a very difficult problem because you know, FISA decided a long time ago, 2 or 3 years ago, that from 1990 they would let cars with 3.5-liter engine, 750 kilos, go for the championship, and only a few car manufacturers, you know, just followed the idea and decided to invest and buy and build cars.
This series, which has seen 10 name changes in the last 38 years, has been dominated this season by the Mercedes team, winning 6 of the first 7 races. Challenging the Mercedes today will be the new Peugeot effort, running 1991 specs with driver Jean-Pierre Jabouille and former world driving champ Keke Rosberg. Their debut was disappointing, qualifying 12th, but dropping out early with engine problems. Early laps were dominated by a Walkinshaw Jaguar with Martin Brundle at the wheel. After pit stops, the powerful Mercedes team, however, again swept to the front. Then this huge 3-car crash brought a premature ending to the event. Spaniard Jesus Pereira escaped injury, but his Porsche was totally destroyed. A manhole cover was either broken in the crash or the cause of it. that was never really determined. Track officials said they couldn't find a replacement, so the race never resumed. And Mercedes won again, and the victory clinched the Drivers' Championship for Mauro Baldi and Jean-Louis Schlesser.
The series concludes a week from Sunday in Mexico City. The American counterpart to the World Sports Prototype Championship is the IMSA GTP Series. It's been nearly a month since that division competed, but at least a couple of drivers have been quite busy. Jaguars' Price, Cobb, and Davy Jones have been learning about a type of racing that's quite foreign to them. This Castrol rig pulled into Gainesville, Florida last week, but it didn't contain their GTP cars. Inside was a dragster capable of 0 to 100 miles an hour in 2 seconds. Cobb and Jones joined other students at Frank Hawley's drag racing school, which includes sessions in the classroom and on the drag strip.
And again, these guys, Frank, are driving to about the Christmas tree.
On the burnout?
Yeah, you want it to be off before that.
Well, I mean, the nose of the car needs to, as soon as the nose of the car is there, you need to be off because you can see it starting to hook. They're pushing the car.
After individual runs in both gas and alcohol-powered machines and more instruction, it was time for a showdown between the two. Price eked out a narrow victory over Davy.
Hey, Davy! Yeah! How did you win? Was that fun or what?
Price discovered two things in drag racing. First, the launch, but more importantly, beating the guy beside you.
To me, that is the most fun. Once you get over the acceleration, then it's down to a race, the same as any other car. And even though it might only last 8 seconds, I tell you, it's a race to be reckoned with.
I really give Frank Hawley and you know, Gary Ornsby and all those guys a lot of credit. It's just I've watched a lot of it on television. I've been to a few races, but never to feel the experience. You think, yeah, it's no problem. You know, you can run down there, blast out of there, and you know, 5 seconds for a run. But the feeling is just incredible.
Price and Davy will be more at home in their GTP Jaguars this weekend at the World Challenge of Tampa. Racing on TV coming up Sunday morning at 8:50 Eastern Time. Live coverage of the Grand Prix of Spain from Jerez, where Ayrton Senna will again try to clinch the world title. And then at 8 o'clock Sunday night Eastern Time, we'll have coverage of the Holly Farms 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina.
When it's just you and the road, Dunlop D40 M2 tires perform. Road and track tests prove it. You can read about it here, or I can show you. Dunlop really performs. In Road and Track's dry braking and wet braking tests, Dunlop finished first. When it comes to handling, cornering, and overall performance, it's Dunlop that really performs. So put yourself on Dunlop tires. Dunlop outperforms.
Is this one of America's all-time greatest sports moments? Find out by calling now for your free 45-minute video from the Sporting News. The greatest moments in American sports history.
Call 1-800-638-1200. Get your free video with 25 issues of the Sporting News for 3 payments of just $9.96. Save 52%. Call now, 1-800-638-1200. That's 1-800-638-1200.
Some of us are still working, and we really, our heart is with you, and just hang in there. We know you're tough, and before long, I think you'll be wearing your Gucci's again.
The 4 Crown Nationals at Eldora Speedway in Ohio, where the USAC Silver Crown title would have been decided, was rained out and rescheduled for Saturday night. But there was other dirt track action from coast to coast. The 4th event in the 9-race Sunoco Championship for big block dirt modifieds ran at Rolling Wheels Raceway in New York. On the 84th lap, a race-stopping crash occurred when Richie Tobias and Toby Green made contact on the front stretch. When it was all over, 11 cars were involved, but no serious injuries. Dale Plank did spend the night in the hospital for x-rays and observation. This type of crash emphasizes the difficulty that rescue workers have in extricating a driver from a fully enclosed cockpit. Miraculously, the driver of this car, Billy Decker, escaped without any injuries at all. When racing resumed, Bob McCready, driving the yellow number 9, went on to win his 29th feature of the year over Kenny Tremont and Brett Hearn. In small block action at Utica-Rome, Rich Rickey Jr. and John Janis did this spectacular double flip. Neither was injured, and Billy Pouch went on to win the 50-lap feature. The World of Outlaws Traveling Sprint Car Series ran at Ascot Park last weekend, probably for the final time. Ascot is expected to close its doors at the end of the season. Danny Lasowski will never forget how hard Ascot's first turn wall is. He was uninjured, but out for the evening. Steve Kinzer will go down in history as the last Woo winner here, passing Doug Wolfgang with 4.5 laps to go. Wolfie's night ended in the wall after touching wheels with Sammy Swindell, who finished second. Steve took another victory Monday night in Albuquerque, New Mexico. As we mentioned a few minutes ago, Ascot Park is expected to close at the end of the 1990 racing season. Donald Davidson looks at the historical significance of that facility in this week's Dick Wallen Racing Classic.
For more than 30 years, Ascot Park Speedway in the Los Angeles suburb of Gardena, California, has played host to all forms of motorsports, at times on every night of the week. It opened on June 1st, 1957, and has served continuously since then as the backbone for CRA sprint cars, which run well over half of their schedule on Ascot's half-mile dirt track. Star cars, motorcycles, dune buggies, off-road vehicles, they've all been here, and USAC has sanctioned nearly 300 events, mostly midgets. The famed Turkey Night Midget Grand Prix, first held back on Thanksgiving 1934, moved here in 1960 with A.J. Foyt as the first Ascot winner. The late flamboyant J.C. Agajanian had already promoted literally hundreds of Ascot races prior to 1976, when he and his family signed a 10-year lease to take over and run the plant on a day-to-day basis, as well as to promote. There wasn't much else around here in 1957, but these days it's a thriving industrial area, and sadly the land is just a little too valuable to permit the survival of any short track.
Fastest growing name in auto parts today. Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices. Pronto oil and air filters are designed to meet or exceed your car's original manufacturer's specifications. Pronto oil and air filters provide the protection demanded by today's high technology engines.
When you need to know about auto parts, ask the pro at Pronto.
Ron Sperry came home for the handling of a Dodge Daytona ES. For Tom Metz, it was a 224 horsepower Spirit RT. Performance is bringing America home to Dodge.
I just love this car. There's no other car like it.
And now, with the new 300 horsepower all-wheel drive Stealth RT twin turbo.
Here's a fast, good-looking car.
The choice is easy. Welcome home, America. Come see what we're made of.
Sunday afternoon, the pennant chase continues with the head-to-head battle for the AL East crown. The high-flying Blue Jays meet the Red Sox, or the Expos face the Phillies. Sunday afternoon, live on ESPN.
Travel arranged through Eastern Airlines, which is now among the leaders in on-time performance. Eastern, we're dedicated to offering service that's second to none.
Last weekend was a volatile one in racing. 3 major races were stopped because of crashes. But on the other hand, there were some light moments, emotional moments that we would like to share with you. For instance, Darrell Waltrip was in rare form just before putting on his helmet for the Goodies 500 at Martinsville. Tom Kendall may have looked a little goofy, but at least his ears were warm at a cold Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. In Montreal, Hans Stuck provided a little levity before the World Sports Prototype race. And then there was an emotional Nigel Mansell on the victory podium in Portugal, listening to the British national anthem maybe for the final time as a Formula One winner. And that will do it for another edition of Speed Week. Next week, in fact, for the entire month of October, we'll be on at 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday nights. We leave you with more of the great battle between Tom Kendall and Scott Sharp in last Saturday's Trans Am race at Elkhart Lake. So long, everyone.
Speed Week has been brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when.
up on SportsCenter, would the Rocket Man clip the Blue Jays? Or would Bruno's blasts ground the Birds? Larry Anderson may have the answer. Meanwhile, another rocket gets untracked. But BYU's air attack gets knocked to the ground. And an SEC showdown goes down to the wire. The Mets are sweating because the Pirates are winning. They're sliding and singing in